Hello guys, welcome to the next session of developing e-commerce application from scratch using Angular and Spring Boot. In the last session we discussed on how we can design the home page like you are able to see on the screen. So we have designed this home page and we have designed this product grid. As of now I am able to see only one product because I have added only one product into my database. But if you have multiple products, then you will be able to see all these products on this home page. Now again, before adding these new features to our application, I was like going through the application, and I found couple of defects which are present into our application. So what we are going to do is, before adding any new features, we are going to fix those existing defects in order to make our application work or perform better. So I have created one document where I have created one table and I have added all the defects. So there are 3 defects I have found. If you have found, like if you are watching my sessions from very beginning, and if you have found any defects, let me know into a comment section and we can just take a look to those as well. But very first defect that we are going to fix is all about the product description. So as of now, product description having the limited length, which is of 255 characters. So we are going to increase that one, because product description can be it can be a multiple line or some bigger text, so we have to increase it. But again, there is one second problem associated with it, that as soon as we will increase the product description length, then we have previously added one table which is for admin, which shows all the product details to the admin. So that table will not look quite good, because I will just show you how it will perform. But like when we add the product description which is having the much longer length, in that case that table will not look quite good, so we have to handle that table as well. There are again second and third defects that we are going to fix in a separate sessions. So let's focus on how we can fix this very first defect. So let's first of all try how we can increase the length. Again, increasing the length very easy. So as of now it is 255 characters. So what I will just do is, I will just first of all go to my MySQL workbench, and in that let me just show the product table. And let me just do one thing, let me just describe the product table. So let me just use DESC product like this, and let me just run this command. And now if you just see into this below result, you will be able to see that product description is having the data type as a varchar, and it is having the length as a 255 characters. So if you just try to add like more than the 255 characters into the product description, it will give you the exception. So in that case, what we have to do is, we have to increase the length of this product description column. So how we can do this? What we have to do, we have to just go to the our Pojo class. So we have to just go to the product Pojo class, and then we have the property that is called as a product description. So on this product description, we have to just add one annotation that is called as @column, and then we have to use one property that is called as a length. So when you use a length, if you see, like default value is 255, and that is the reason like in the database we are able to see the size of a 255. So we have to increase it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to increase it till the 2000. I think 2000 is more than enough for me. If you want, you can just increase or decrease the size accordingly. Now let me save the changes, and now what we have to do is, we have to just go to the application.properties file. Over here we have one property that is called as a spring.jpa.hibernate.ddl auto. So as of now the value is update. So right now let me just try to restart my application by keeping it as update only. So let me just restart the application and let me just wait. Yeah, so application is started. So let me just go to the MySQL workbench, and over here let me just try to run this command again. And if you see, like again, when I just try to run this command, I'm able to get the product description size as a 255. The reason is, we have to change the value of this property, and we have to make it as a create. So when we make it as a create, what it will do is, it will just drop all the tables that are present into a database, and it will just create a new tables. And while creating a new tables, it will just use these new configuration that we have added. So let me just make it as a create again, and let me just restart the application. Let's see what happens this time. So this time whether we are able to get the expected size or not. And again, let me just try to describe the product table, and now yes, if you see, we are able to see the size of product description as a 2000, and it is working perfectly fine. So now let me just quickly do one thing. Let me just make it as an update again, because every time we don't want to make it like we don't want to drop over all the tables. So that is the reason. Just make sure you are just making it back to the update value, back to the update. Now again, let me just restart it quickly so that our update value will get applied. The next thing that we have to do is we have to focus on the table that we were talking previously. So what we have to do is, let me just show you. Let me just go to the Google Chrome, and now let me just refresh the application. As of now, we don't have any product, because as like we just dropped our all the tables, and that is the reason we lost our data as well. So now let me just do one thing. Let me just log out and log in with the admin. So let me just use admin123 and admin @pass, and let me just add a new product. So let me just add as a painting of horse, painting of horse. And let me just add the description. So for the description, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to use a lorem ipsum. So lorem ipsum is basically a dummy text, so it will allow us to like use the dummy text. So let me just copy this dummy text, and let me just paste it over here. And price, let me just put it as 999, and discounted price as a 899. Let me just browse the painting. And similarly, let me just add one more product. So painting of horse 2. Product description, again I'm just going to use a lorem ipsum. The price is 799 and discounted price is 699. And let me just add the second image. And now if I just go to the show product detail, if you see, like this is the table, and this is the situation that I was talking about. If you just see, like we are able to see these product description, and we are able to see like all these columns and all these things are like we are not be able to see it properly. That is the reason we have to modify this table a bit. So what we have to do is we have to just apply some additional styles, and we have to just modify this table, and we have to make this table look more better than this particular situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on these last 3 columns. I'm just going to combine it, and I'm just going to give the header as an action, and I'm just going to combine this particular column. So let's see how we can do this first. And again, I'm able to see some padding on the left hand, not a padding, it's a margin. So margin on the left hand side and right hand side. So I'm just going to remove this extra margin as well, so that I can get more space to adjust my table. So let me just jump to the VS Code, and then inside the VS Code, let me just go to the home, not a home, let me just go to the show product detail component. Inside the show product detail, let me just go to the HTML file. Over here on the top, we have applied one class that is called as a container. So container is nothing but a bootstrap class, and which gives you some margin from these left hand side and right hand side. So I'm just going to remove this particular class like this, and now let me just save this code. Let's see what happens. So on the browser, if you now if you see, like our table is taking the entire width that is available, but I don't want my table to take the entire width. I just want some little bit of margin from left and right hand side. So that is the reason I'm just going to apply one small padding. So let me just try to apply p-3. Let's see what happens first. And yes, p-3 is working perfectly fine. So p is nothing but a padding, and 3 is nothing but a value. So again, it is a bootstrap class. So if you want, you can just apply a CSS as well. And now what we have to do is we have to just combine these three columns into one. So let me just show you how we can do this. So very first thing that we have to do is we have to just go to the images. So instead of these images, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it as a actions like this, and similarly I'm just going to take it as a actions into the header. And now let me just save this code. As of now you will get the error on the browser because we have just changed this column definition name. But right now let me just copy this edit button code. Let me just copy the edit button code and let me paste it after images button. And similarly let me just copy this delete button code and let me just paste it after this edit button. So images, edit and delete button are under the same column if you see, or like if you just see what we have did over here. So we just renamed our existing images column to the actions, and we added all three buttons under this actions column. Now we can just remove these edit and delete button. So let me just select the edit and delete button and let me just remove it like this. And now what we have to do is we have to just copy this name, which is a mat column definition. We have to just copy the name and we have to just go to the ts file, which is a show product detail component ts file. Inside this, if you see, we have one array that is called as a displayed column. This array is basically contain all the column names. So again we have to remove this edit and delete from it, and instead of these images we have to use it as a actions that we just copied. And now let me just save this code. We have to restart the application in some cases. So if it's giving any error to you, make sure that you are just restarting the application. But let me just go to the VS Google Chrome, and yes, now it is looking quite good and we are able to see the actions and we are able to see all the three buttons under these actions. Now as of now the product description is taking the much longer width than expected, so we can reduce the width that is applied to the product description. So how we can do this? So let's see. It is again pretty easy. So what we have to do is we have to just use some like CSS styles, and again to apply some CSS styles we have to perform one logic. So not a logic, but we have to just keep some things in our mind. So what we have to do is, first of all, let me just go to the HTML file and let me just jump to the product description. Now if you just see, like over here we have the name that is called as a product description, right? So as of now let me just change it to the something else and let me just make it as a description like this, and I can just keep these d as a small. Yeah, so let me just copy the name description and let me just come to the ts file and let me just give the description name over here like this. And now what we have to do is to apply some CSS styles, we have to just go to the CSS, and what we have to do is we have to just use mat call and then we have to give the description like this. And over here what we have to do is we have to just use this mat dash call and then dash description. So description is nothing but the name that we have used for this column. So we have to just make sure that we are using this particular name over here inside our CSS. So if you have the ID, if you want to just apply any styles to the ID, then what you have to do is we have to just use mat dash call dash ID, and that ID should be exactly same that we have used over here. Then let me just apply some styles. First of all, let me just do one thing. Let me just apply the width and let me just make it as a 35%, and let me just use @important, not like explanatory important, and let me just save it. Let's see what happens on the UI. So on the UI I am not able to see any changes. So let me just see what happened. So I think instead of this call we have to use a column, and then we have to give a dot as well because it is a class that we are going to apply. So we don't have to apply the explicitly, we have to just use a proper syntax. So we have to use a dot mat dash column, and dash we have to give the description. So this can be changed, like description, id, or anything that you have, this can be changed, but make sure it is exactly same that we have used over here. And now let me just save the changes. Let's see what happens on the browser. And yes, now we are able to see like on the browser, product description is taking the 35% of the width, and it is looking quite good. But again, if you just see like we don't have any padding inside these product description and product discounted price column. So if you just see, like 899 is like pretty near to the product description, so we have to make sure that we are apply some padding as well. And again, that is very easy. What we have to do is we have to just go to the css again, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use a table, and for the table heading and table data, I'm just going to apply the padding of, let's suppose, 10 pixel. I'm just applying randomly, let's see whether it works or not. And if I just apply for the 10 pixel, and let me just save the code again, and let's see what happens. Yes, I'm not be able to see any changes. Let's see what is going wrong there. So I'm just applying the padding to the table, and then th comma td. So let me just do one thing. Let's first of all try to apply only for the td. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so now when we apply it to the td, it is working perfectly fine, and I think it is looking quite good as well, because I'm able to see the perfect gap in between the discounted price and actual price, and in the description as well. And again, if you just want, you can just apply some vertical borders as well to the cell, but I don't think like I require it over here. So as of now, whatever is looking, I think I'm perfectly happy with it, and it is looking perfectly fine. If you are still not happy, you can just apply your own styles, and you can just try to modify it accordingly. But before concluding this particular session, let's try to understand whether our actions is working perfectly fine or not. So when I click on images, yes, it is looking it is showing the pop-up having the images. When I'm clicking on the edit, yes, edit is also working perfectly fine. And when I clicking on the delete, so delete is also working perfectly fine. And yes, now every single thing is working perfectly fine. Let me just try to add one more product having much longer description, so that we can just painting, and let me just paste the lorem ipsum again. So I'm just adding the description pretty longer, so that I can just make sure it is working perfectly fine. If it is not working, then also we can just make some changes. And let me just use the image like this, and let me just go to the show product. But as of now, we are not able to get like see any product. Let's go to the backend, and let's see what happened wrong over here. So again, we are able to see that data too long for the column. So this is the reason, like I just copied the lorem ipsum, and I just pasted it for more than expected times, and that is the reason the description went ahead from the 2000 characters, and that is the reason we are getting this exception. But let me just go to the add new product again, and let me just add, and let me just paste it for 2 times only, and let me just give 999 799, and yeah, so this time, yes, it is looking perfectly fine. And even though if we add a multiple rows, then it is also looking perfectly fine, and it is also working the perfectly fine. So I am happy with it. If you still have any questions, let me know into a comment section, and we can try to work on those questions, and we can just try to modify. You can just apply some styles that you want, but I'm just happy with these basic styles. So I hope you enjoyed this particular session, and I hope you got an idea like how we can increase the length, and how we can redesign the show product tables. So in some cases we have to like redesign, like we have to rework on the things that we have already done, and we have to make sure that our application is consistent, and it is as per the requirements. So that is the reason I added this defect, and I just fixed this defect. In the next session, we will talk about how we can fix the next defect, because we have fixed the very first defect. We have the second defect, which is about the home page. So we are going to see how we can fix this second defect. So I hope you enjoyed this session, and I'll see you in the next session.